home. We are WNST, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore. We are Baltimore positively getting through snowstorms, winter, hiring cycles in the National Football League, and there will be baseball around the corner. Before we do that, we're doing a cup of soup or bowl. That'll be Super Bowl week beginning February 2nd. We'll be at Fade Lee's in Lexington Market on day one, State Fair, and then we're going to Coco's. Then we're going to be at Pizza John's in Essex. Yes, they have a crab cake, and it's delicious. And then on Friday, we're going to be in Costas and Timonium. All brought to you by the Maryland Lottery. Candy Cane cash giveaways. Had a $100 winner at Costas last month down at Dundalk, which was a lot of fun. And our friends at GBMC. Not sure if Luke and I are going to Sarasota next month or not. I think the Orioles might get some more pitching, but I love hearing from my old baseball pals. I covered baseball for a long, long time, still covered baseball pretty well around here for being an excommunicated Aparicio. This guy here was a part of my show many years ago. I was syndicated Sporting News Radio at the turn of the century. I spent time in New York and Mickey Mantle's and one-on-one sports and all of that stuff. Ken Davidoff covered baseball for how many years, Ken? I mean, I want to say 30, 35, but I don't want to be disrespectful because you still look like you're 30, 35.
You're too kind, Nestor. Good to see you. Yeah, I covered it full time from 97 to 22. I'm still on the periphery a little bit. I do a little bit of writing.
25 years you covered.
Yeah, full time,
and
yeah.
Mets and Yankees, but in lots of different ways. Publications in New York, on the beat. You weren't the Billy Martin era, but you were definitely the Joe Torre era, correct?
That is correct. Yeah, I was for most of that run, I was a baseball columnist for different New York publications, which meant that let's call it 80% of my time was Yankees and Mets. But then, I had relationships all over the league and All-Star Game, World Series, no matter who was playing. So, all that too.
Are you in Red Sox country now, somehow, some way? Or you? I hear you're educating the youth of America. Is that true, Ken?
I'm trying. I'm an adjunct professor at Endicott College in Beverly, Massachusetts. So I still live in New York City, and I do like a hybrid model for my classes. Half in person, half Zoom. So as I'm Zooming with you this morning, I'm in Boston, and today will be my first day of class up in Beverly, Mass.
All right, so if you're in New York, you still get better pizza, and you got John Harbaugh too, so things will get fixed there. You've written a book on baseball, and I just want to give full color to this because you were one of the very acclaimed baseball writers in this country at the turn of the century, and baseball was and where we are here. We've had some playoff games with Buck a decade ago. We went into the dark ages of the rebuild era. We've now fired a manager and hired a manager after another last place year here last year. The baseball thing, and I come at it honest as an Aparicio, it's a lifelong thing for me. I can't shake it no matter what. I'll be buried with it, whether Mr. Rubenstein and Arrighetti or Craig Albernaz knows that or anybody associated with the Orioles. But I watch it from here, and I watch it in a different way than maybe I did. Give me where you are in writing a book about baseball, because I've loved baseball my whole life. I would tell you right now, Ken, I don't think I'll ever write a book about baseball at this point in my life. I just think it's sort of, once you get out, a lot of people are just sort of like, man, I did that every night of my life for 25 years. I like it. Game comes on, playoff game or whatever. But a Tuesday night between, let's say, the Rockies and the Diamondbacks is not what any of us look to do after we've done it professionally, I think.
Well, that's a great leading question, Nestor, because my book it's not about anything I wrote on per se, with the exception of David Wright, who wrote the foreword, and some blurbs I got. But the actual book, 101 Lessons from the Dugout, is written for young adults, and it's about the joy of baseball and softball, the games themselves, and the
playing
life
the
lessons,
game, playing the game,
playing the game, and the life lessons that you can derive from playing the game. So what I kind of did by getting off the hamster wheel and not having to worry about, okay, what do I have to write today? What do I have to say today? Oh, the Yankees have lost 4 of 6. How do I have to assess that situation? Who are the Mets trading for? I stripped that all down and just went to the basic joys of this and the beauty of this game, which is a beautiful game, Nestor. Like, I would encourage you to, someday you'll get off the hamster wheel, and I think you'll appreciate it more because you won't be in work mode.
Well, Rick Down grabbed me when he was alive, and he came back to Baltimore, I think, as the Yankees hitting coach at one point. And I loved Rick.
Yeah,
Rick was a real mentor to me in the 90s when he coached here. And Rick pulled me up at the cage. This is after Angelos and, had wrecked the team, but I was still I didn't have my press pass taken away. It was in 06 that he took my press pass. It's probably like 03, 04, 05. And Rick's at the batting cage, she said to me, "Hey, man, just make sure they don't take your love for the game away from you, man. Make
Mm.
sure they don't take that away from you. You're an Aparicio." He said, you know, um, I don't know. I don't love baseball anymore. I mean, I'll be the first to admit it. I know a lot about it. I like it. I like it when it's good. You know, but I don't like it when it's not good. And we've had a lot of not good here. So I think look, I told Cal Ripken this, on the back end, I'm like, Angelos is going to destroy baseball in the region. We're a lacrosse community here. Lots and lots and lots of people here grab a lacrosse stick and they've never played baseball because it's not in the neighborhood anymore. It's not stick ball in the corner the way it was for you and me. And there is a
Mm.
different game, let alone soccer, basketball, those kinds of sports that are easy one ball in a neighborhood for poor people.
Right.
But lacrosse in my community, most of the people I know, their kids play lacrosse. And if they have any money at all and they're in the private area, that's where now the places where they still vote for Trump in Harford County, Middle River, where I'm from, they play baseball. They do. And that being said, baseball to me, it's a far better game than lacrosse as I see it.
I agree with you. I'm biased, and it's interesting, Nestor. All those years I covered baseball, people say, "Oh, you must love baseball so much." I would say, "Hey, like I don't love baseball. I love journalism because I'm practicing journalism here, And if I someday I got the information that would destroy baseball, let's say that every game since 1901 had been fixed, like it would have been my job to report that and not worry about the consequences, right? But I think by stepping away and not having to worry about the narratives and the storylines and chasing down news, I have regained a love for baseball. I mean, I don't watch too many games on TV anymore, but come playoff time, like, all right, it's time to watch some baseball, and I really enjoy watching those games. I usually buy a Yankees strip and just go to the games and sit quietly in the stands and watch those games, and I really enjoy them.
Well, I covered softball in the late
Hmm.
1980s. I covered girls high school softball, and there was a guy down in Anne Arundel County named Jack Crandall who had in his basement. He would bring the girls in, and they would learn how to really bring it to get scholarships, right? So. And only the Anne Arundel County, no, those girls threw 75 miles an hour, and the girls at Patterson were throwing underhanded, like slow pitch. You know what I mean? Like, and I watched that, and when I covered those games, they were so competitive and they were so good. And high school softball, late 1980s, 40 years ago, being at those games, and my dad, we were the neighborhood. My dad had all the equipment in the shed. My dad was the manager. My dad had a clicker. My dad was the umpire, in the neighborhood. My dad loved baseball and he wasn't even an Aparicio. So I was adopted. But I was in my dad loved baseball. So baseball my whole life, the games, the strategy, picking up sides, playing the game, hitting a home run, like all of little league, all that stuff that I did. It had nothing to do with the Orioles or Brooks Robinson or Mike Messina or my job or my journalism or my radio station or any of that stuff. But there is a point for me when I see people my age who have kids in high school who play ball that when there's a high school game somewhere and they go to that game, that can be eminently more enjoyable than going to Camden Yards and paying $20 for a beer and doing different things. That like a good high school baseball game, a good Legion ball game, a good beer league softball game on a Sunday can be fun because the strategy is fun. And if you pick up fair sides, which baseball doesn't even pick up fair sides, Major League Baseball doesn't pick up fair sides. But the game itself, like that's what I'm thinking about. The times I love the game, I love the game when it's not about pomp and circumstance and $500 to get in and $20 for a beer and where do I park, but more like teaching kids how to play the game and letting them have fun and run the first base instead of third base.
Yeah, I'm with you, Nestor. And again, so this book, I co-wrote it with a gentleman named Harley Rothbard, and he's a pediatrician. And so he's spent his life working with kids and helping kids and their parents navigate life, right? And the book was really his baby. He came to me to work with him on it. But this whole idea of like, here's something that can help you navigate the terrain of childhood and adolescence.
Teamwork, hit the cutoff man, sacrifice bunt.
That's just
Keep going. What am I missing
Well,
here?
there's 101 chapters like
You
that.
need help. You need a bullpen.
You named three, so there's 98 more. And Yeah, just really like chapter two is just you're not in the starting lineup today. How do you deal with that adversity? Well, you put your head down and you keep working and you don't lose faith in yourself. And the same thing, let's say you're in school and it's a school play and you don't get the lead role, but you get the role with two lines. All right, well, if you hit the heck out of those two lines, maybe next time you'll get the lead role. Don't let it get you down. So it's that kind of
Making the
translation
team, just making the
from
team, right?
making the team from the field to life itself. So that's
Ken,
that's what we're trying to convey here.
Ken Davidoff's my dude. He's covered Major League Baseball for a long, long time, been a columnist, pissed off a lot of PR people, I hope, through the course of time up there in the steroid era, amongst others. He has written a book on life lessons. And so give me the background of writing the book. I mean, you got off the hamster wheel, as you said to me before we came on in
hmm
2022.
hmm
Um, and look, man, all my friends are guys like you. All my friends are washed up sports writers. I mean, John Eisenberg, when he comes on, he always says to me, I wrote during the glory era of sports writing, And I'm thinking the same thing for me. I worked at the Baltimore Sun in the late 80s. I was Ken Rosenthal's assistant in the late 80s
Wow.
at the Evening Sun. So, I mean,
Wow.
and Richard Justice and just all of these people that went through Baltimore to make a name for themselves covering the Orioles, went on to also Tom Keegan, just all Rick Strauss, like great.
hmm
So, I mean, all of
Joe
these people,
Strauss.
Joe Strauss, I'm sorry,
Yeah. Yeah.
in St. Louis, uh, Bernie Miklasz was here. All of these different
hmm
people that covered the Orioles, Cal Ripken, Brooks Robinson, like all the legend of all of that. And we're still have it going on here with signing Pete Alonso from the Mets, which is, going
hmm
to become the biggest story here once the Ravens get a coach. Um, I would say for you to get off the hamster wheel, give me your career thing in becoming a writer because the end's nigh for everybody who worked for a newspaper, right? Like my dad was pissed at me in 92. He thought if I stayed at the Baltimore Sun, I was going to get a gold watch. And when I left to go do this crazy radio thing, and it is astonishing in our lifetime what has happened to journalism, newspapers, sports writing, and more than that, Luke still has a press pass and covers the games. It's astonishing to see how little access you even have to have any humanity that I would ever meet Craig Albernaz or sit in his office the way I did with Lou Piniella and Sparky Anderson 35 years ago while they eat post-game food and explain baseball is life to me. There's not a whole lot of that goes on anymore for guys like us, the next generation of Ken Rosenthal's and Ken Davidoff's, right?
Yeah, Nestor. I mean, you covered a lot of ground there, and we could probably have a 3 hour discussion just on that question, right? That's a lot of stuff behind that. But yeah, bottom line is, I agree with you. It's always going to change and evolve, and I think it's more challenging than ever because first of all, the clubs and the leagues don't need independent media as much as they used to, right? Because they have their own media arms and entities where they can get their message out without having to worry about how it's filtered and interpreted. Second of all, the players themselves have their own outlets if they choose to do that through their social media. And if they really wanted to blog or what have you, they could do that too. Obviously, the financial state of independent media is weak relative to what it used to be. So you put all those ingredients in this recipe, and it's more challenging than ever. I know you obviously have a lot of relationships that you built over your career, and I do too. And I think it's getting harder and harder to build those kind of relationships with the people that you cover because of all these different factors. Like I covered David Wright for his entire career. So when I reached out to him and said, "Hey, I have this kid-friendly book. I actually think you'd be a nice fit for it to write the forward for us," he agreed. And I think that's going to be harder for that next generation to really build those relationships, which I think strengthens your journalism.
Well, and it provides an insight into someone that
hmm
um it just can't be done any other way. And I think it's making me lose a little interest in sports and the
hmm
ATM part of being a fan. Even last week, the Ravens owner had a really flippant sort of Goodfellas press conference and said the fans don't matter that much. Okay.
Wow.
Like literally just said that said what we all know out loud, right? Like sure, we know that.
Mm.
So you're stepping away from it and watching it from afar. What do you make of Major League Baseball right now? What do you, because obviously the labor situation, which was always at the heart of what we covered going back to Marvin Miller and Don Fear, back in my day, because I went on the air in 91. I was here for the strike in 90, 93, 94, 95, and all that bad period of time. Then steroids, all the bad things that came for baseball. I have new ownership here after bad ownership. The owner thought the first thing he was going to do was build a bobblehead of himself. Now, this offseason, they're throwing money at it, which the Mets have been doing since Darryl Strawberry, right? So the state of Major League Baseball begets like playground ball and who wants to play and who your heroes are. And daddy, I want a baseball glove, not a lacrosse stick or a hockey glove or a soccer ball, or I just don't want sports at all. I want my mobile device and my VR headset, and I'll go play video games or whatever stuff that I play Donkey Kong, but I play second base too and shortstop. So for you with writing this for kids and saying life lessons for a parent to say why I want my kid in baseball, I don't know. You look at Major League Baseball for examples of that. Even if you could find the game on Apple TV on a Friday night.
Well, look, I think there's again a lot of what you were saying there, Nestor, and it's a nuanced answer. It's funny you talk about looking to Major League Baseball for example. So, chapter 92 of our book is clean up after yourself. Clean up your mess. So it didn't get it got some attention last October, not a ton, but Yoshinobu Yamamoto, World Series MVP, dominant performance, right? The whole postseason. He beats the Blue Jays in game two up in Toronto, complete game. And before he goes into the clubhouse, he cleaned up the dugout, cleaned up the visiting dugout at Rogers Center. It went viral. You can Google that.
Very Japanese thing, by the way, if you ever been to
Yeah.
Japan.
But there's big Japanese influence in Major League Baseball, right? With obviously between Yamamoto and Otani, and now three or four new guys coming over every year. It's hard to deny the positive impact of that, financially and globally and all that. So so I do think there's some positive. Look, I think the pitch clock has been huge, a hugely positive development. And I know TV ratings were up last year. Attendance was essentially flat, very tiny way. You mentioned the labor thing. That's the elephant in the room. That has to be improved somehow, right? Like it's just, you have Kyle Tucker signing this monster contract with the
Well, it's not a
Dodgers.
fair fight. It never was. I mean, it wasn't a fair fight when
Right.
the Orioles were losing Reggie Jackson in 1976.
Hmm.
Like literally,
Right.
it the football and the hockey people went out for a year to figure it out. Basketball has
Right.
figured out this global phenomenon that I don't care about, but they're making a boatload of money. And
Right.
baseball's got their World Baseball Classic coming up here in a couple of weeks. I'm Venezuelan. There's going to be the whole Venezuela getting people here to play
Oh, yeah,
ball and all
yeah,
of that.
yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, baseball and growth and catching up to football, it reminds me of what my dad went through with boxing and horse racing. And just every year, it feels like it falls a little further behind in some way. And it felt that way in Baltimore for 20 years when the Ravens were winning and Angelos was destroying the Orioles. But it feels like here in Baltimore, there's at least an opportunity with the stadium, with a new owner, with some decent players and some young players that if they charge it right, do it right, get back out in the community. I don't think they're doing that now. I'm watching it all here, and I watched their attendance go down 500,000 last year. But the power of Major League Baseball in these smaller markets to sort of become a dominant thing for 6 months and sort of own it all summer long, that's been missing here. And I think that part of where your book is in reaching the people and saying, do your kids want to play ball? Do they want to play softball? Is there a league around the corner? Is there a place to extol the virtues of baseball ideology as becoming a good citizen and becoming a good human, becoming a good teammate, all of those things. I just worry for where baseball is. And if they would be stupid enough to shut the thing down a year from now, there's always been haves and have-nots. There's so much money in New York and LA and probably Toronto now in Canada that
Hmm.
I don't know what that means for the Pittsburgh Pirates or the Minnesota Twins or the Baltimore Orioles, but I know they better figure it out. And they've been our lifetime saying, but we have enough winners. Everybody gets to win. The Yankees don't win every year. The Dodgers don't win every year. Yeah, but when they're spending $300 million every year, it's not a fair fight. It's not fair teams.
Yeah, that's undeniable, Nestor. That's yeah. I mean, the payroll disparities speak for themselves. So there's no getting around that, and that's we'll see whether they shut down the sport for a year in
Do you
27
have
or
any? Do
whether
you have any thought that we're going to live long enough that it won't be Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden for them? Like literally, the original sin. The
I'm
original
sorry,
sin for them
free
is
agency.
no, not having fair teams. Having some teams play with
Oh,
30 million and others play with 300 million. To me, that's the thing that college football deals with that, college basketball,
right,
which is another reason I'm not all that interested in that. Is,
right,
is that can my team win?
right.
Will my team ever win? It's been 42 years here, been a lot of mismanagement, I'll give you that. But when you're
Yeah,
playing with the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Blue Jays every year, you don't have a fair sport in the way that explaining it to a 12-year-old that you could explain hockey, football, basketball, say they all have the same amount of money, the draft, things that make you a fan for life. I think it's way harder to be an Orioles fan when you're 30 years old and you got a lacrosse stick and the Ravens are across the street. And I think that that's in a baseball football market. I see that in a big, big way as far as kids wanting to play it because you're writing a book for kids wanting to play it. I'm an Aparicio. I'm a baseball guy. If I drive 2 minutes from here, all I see are lacrosse fields. And it's weird to me.
yeah. So I'm not sure where to go with that, but
Major League Baseball fixing itself so people care more about baseball, period.
yeah, look, Nestor, I think there are many reasons why people care and don't care about anything, right? So I'm not disputing that the payroll disparity is a huge issue that needs to be resolved, but I think there are some people that don't follow it because the players aren't as compelling as the NBA players. There are some people follow because even with the pitch clock, they still think it's too slow. So again, I'm not I don't want to do universal explanations and theories. Like again, I agree with you. The payroll disparity is a huge problem that needs to be addressed.
And this
Even
is
if
their
it's
year to
not
do it, though. If they're ever going to get anywhere, but it's going to take a war to do it, right? I mean, historically,
historically, yeah, yeah. But it's a matter of are there half measures that can be taken that will allow them to stay on the field while making it markedly better for the Baltimore Orioles and Pittsburgh Pirates and the Milwaukee Brewers.
are we going to like
And
Pete
I don't
Alonso here?
Oh yeah, yeah. Pete, I mean, Pete posts. He plays every day. He's accessible to the media. And he cares. He really cares. So yeah, I think that was a huge, huge signing for the Orioles.
And it feels generational to me. It feels like they signed somebody else's Cal Ripken in some sort of weird way.
Yeah, I mean, he became the Mets all-time home run leader last season. And so that's
Why
a
did the
pretty
Mets?
big deal.
Why didn't the Mets just give him the money? And I mean, what? Why?
I think the Mets thought, first of all, he's not a strong defender. He's at first base, so he'll be a DH eventually. And second of all, the Mets clearly thought like they had to blow up their clubhouse, that the clubhouse was an issue. And that doesn't mean that Pete's a
They get rid
negative
of their best guy.
factor. Well, he's not their best guy. I mean, Juan Soto's their best guy, and Francisco Lindor is signed to a long-term contract as is Soto. So those are the two guys to build the roster around moving forward.
No, I meant best person. When you say a good clubhouse,
Oh,
yeah, like they're a great guy. You
he
know,
is a great guy.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's, it is what it
In
is.
my lifetime, I don't find many great guys. So when you get rid of great guys, you don't usually replace them with other great guys. Ken Davidoff's a great guy. He's been covering sports and baseball primarily for 3 decades. I've been reading his work. He's been on the show. He's now has a book designed to help young people. So hold your book up. Let's talk about the book and the most important thing. What's the most important lesson out of the 101?
Gosh, hard to rank them, but I think Nestor, there's that just the very first, chapter one is sort of an introduction, but then chapter two, like I talked about, not in the starting lineup. Like you start your day by getting knocked down, right? Like how are you going to respond to getting knocked down? When that lineup card goes up, when that the play cast goes up, when you get a bad grade in a class, whatever it is, how are you going to respond to that? So I do think that's why we have that at chapter two, is because it's the foundation for everything that follows. Because that's life hits you in the what's a lot, right? You got to deal with a lot of adversity in life, no matter what kind of life you're leading. So how do you respond to that?
I think my
So hopefully
favorite
you read.
baseball thing, my dad was a guy who studied the science of hitting. My dad had like the Ted Williams' book and the 9 zones,
Oh yeah.
like all of that, right? So my dad, I laughed because he loved baseball so much. But I would say failure, the fact that you're going to
Mhm.
fail 7 out of 10 times in order to go to the Hall of Fame, that that's probably my favorite baseball axiom. And also, life's like a can of corn. But for me, I think the failure part of baseball um, allowed some level of humility for most players. Not Reggie Jackson,
Yeah.
certain guys. But my favorite people in baseball would say that would be their character builder, was that you lost a lot. Even if you were great, you lost a lot.
Yeah, Reggie wrote a blurb for my book. So that's
Did he? What did he write?
yeah. He wrote, "This is a book that needs to be on the shelf of every young player and fan, every coach, and every school library."
All right. I won't forgive him for being mean to me, but that's okay. I was a kid.
Ha.
And he was a veteran who had struck out Don Ossie late on a Saturday afternoon at Memorial Stadium. Ken Davidoff's been on. So let me just ask you this, because I never have you on. I hope you write 10 more books and come back anytime you want to talk baseball. What's your favorite baseball memory of all the years you did stuff? I mean, I think about this because every year the World Series comes, and I've been thrown out for 20 years, but I'm not really thrown out because Major League Baseball still credentials me at all-star games and whatever I would want to
Mhm.
do, right? But I think about all of the games. I mean, I was at the Cal Ripken 21-31 game. I watched the World Series. I was at the Joe Carter home run game at Skydome. I mean, I was when Leyritz hit the home run at Fulton County. You could hear a
Mhm.
rat piss on cotton in Atlanta. You could throughout the South that night. So I mean, I was at all of these. George Bush throwing out the first pitch. When the Red Sox won, I was there. So I have all of these memories. A guy like you that did it professionally, what's your favorite baseball memory?
Well, gosh, Nestor, I'm going to localize it for you and your audience because it's really hard for me to pick just one. But given who you are and who you represent, I do have a very vivid Baltimore memory, and that's the night Cal ended his streak. Sunday night in September 1998
I
against
was
the
at a Ravens
Yankees.
game and somewhere else that night. I think I was in Tennessee or something crazy. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So I was there covering, as a Yankees beat writer in 1998, and oh my God, Cal isn't playing. And because of who Cal was and the attributes he represented, that was a huge story, even for the New York readership. So that was a rare night, a very rare night when you blow off the New York Yankees to write about the opponent. And I always remember Cal came out first, second, third inning, after the game had started, and he waved to the crowd, and all the Yankees came out onto the field and applauded for him. And it
And
was
that was
just such
quite
a
a Yankees team now.
that was
You're
the
talking
Yankees
about
team.
Clemens, Tino.
No, not
No?
Clemens. No,
Got Clemens
no,
yet? No? Wasn't there
no,
yet?
not 99. But
Not
98 is when they won 114 plus 11
Bernie
more. And
Williams,
yeah,
Mariano.
hmm
Was Fielder and Boggs, those guys were gone by then, right?
they
Like
were
I'm thinking,
gone. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. But
yeah.
Torrey was managing that team, right?
Yeah, but this was the historic team. This was 114 wins, and then the 11 win. No team has ever won 125 games combined, regular season, postseason.
That's one
They
of the first
still
teams you
own that
covered too,
record.
then, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but seeing that group tribute Cal like that just spoke to the kind of guy Cal is and the respect he had throughout the industry. And so and I was just honored to be there, to cover that story.
All right, dude. Well, I'm honored to have you on the show. Hold your book up. Tell everybody about the book. Not out this minute, but coming out right now. You can get it
It's a
100.
it's available for pre-order right now on so the publisher is Bloomsbury, Bloomsbury, and it's also available on Amazon. 101 Lessons from the Dugout, written by myself and Harley Rothbart, pediatrician parenting expert, with a foreword by David Wright.
I'm going to pay you the highest tribute I can pay you, that my dad would love your book. He would
Thank
have it
you.
right next to the Bronx Zoo and right next to, Ball Four
A
and, all the other baseball books
little different
yeah.
read than those books.
Yeah, I've written some books on football because we've won championships here.
Right,
My,
right.
my baseball books have not have had happy endings.
Hmm.
They've involved Peter Angelos and bad vibes around here. So I'm waiting for our happy ending here and a championship here. Ken, keep up the great work educating folks up there in Endicott, right? As you said, right?
Endicott, yes.
Endicott. Okay.
Yes.
All right. I don't
Thank
know
you,
how to
man.
pronounce it. I know it's a New York place. I had an Endicott shoes when I was a kid. Ken
Okay.
Davidoff covers baseball and has covered baseball for a lifetime. He's written a book of that will help your children about baseball and softball and life lessons. My life lesson is that Luke is following all things Ravens head coaching. When the purple plumes of smoke come out of the warehouse, you'll get the WNST text service first. All brought to you by our friends at Cole Roofing and Gordian Energy. We're getting a cup of Super Bowl out on the road 2 weeks from now at 5 sponsor locations. We're going to be telling community stories, charity stories, good stuff happening here, and raising some awareness for our friends at the Maryland Food Bank and feeding some people who need to be fed here this winter. I am well fed right now. We're doing the Tastiness 27th anniversary as well out on Facebook. And yeah, no baseball right now, no football right now. We're going to get a new head coach, and we're going to get down to Sarasota and pretend we have a chance to win the World Series. I am Nestor. We are WNST, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking. Baltimore positive.